God protects us in miraculous ways. Good morning, everyone! Last week, we talked about how God protected and cared for Moses as a baby. Moses was raised by the Pharaoh's daughter. Moses grew up to be a strong young man. He did not like the way his Israelite people were being treated. One day, God spoke to Moses through a burning bush. God told Moses to go back to the Pharaoh to tell him to let God's people go. Moses didn't think that he'd be brave enough to go alone, so God told him to take his brother Aaron with him. Moses and Aaron obeyed God and went, but the Pharaoh would not listen. Because the Pharaoh wouldn't listen, God sent many plagues against the Egyptian people. After the last plague, the Pharaoh told Moses and Aaron to quickly leave Egypt and take all of God's people with them. God was with the Israelites as they traveled away from Egypt. During the day, God went ahead of the people in a pillar of cloud. At night, he went ahead of them as a pillar of fire to give them light. After a while, Pharaoh changed his mind about letting God's people go. So he gathered his army and told them to go and bring God's people back to Egypt. When the Israelites saw the Egyptian army coming after them, they cried out to God for help. Moses told the Israelites that God would fight for them. God told Moses to raise his staff and to stretch out his hand over the Red Sea, so the waters would divide and the people could walk on dry land through the sea. Moses obeyed God. God held the sea back. With a strong wind, he divided the waters to the right and the left, so that the Israelites could walk through. The Egyptian army continued chasing the Israelites into the sea, so God confused them. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they'd have trouble driving. The Egyptians said, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Then the Lord told Moses to stretch out his hand over the sea so that the waters would flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen. Moses obeyed God, and the water went back into its place and covered the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. When the Israelites saw the great power that God had shown them against the Egyptians, they feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. We can trust God to protect us just like he protected the Israelites. God protects us in miraculous ways. Trust God. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye. Remember to like, comment on, and share these videos. You can subscribe to Crown Kingdom Cultural Center on YouTube to watch us well. Also, you can attend Children's Church on Sundays at 10 a.m.